International Civil Aviation Day is celebrated worldwide with the objective to promote global connectivity and raise awareness of the importance of local and international air travel to a country's socio-economic development. Now, let's hand over to Simpiwe Ngongwane, who's out at the Heidelberg Airport to celebrate this day and what it means. Sims, a very good morning to you. What can we expect today?
A very good morning to you, Lebs. Thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to the Heidelberg Aerodrome in Heidelberg, which is about 63 kilometers east of Johannesburg. This is basically where it's like a hangar for light aircraft, where there's it's especially a landing strip for lighter aircraft, both from the commercial sector, the military, and as well as the South African police services. And as you can see, I'm standing right next to a police helicopter. It's aptly called the B0150. It's basically used for search and seizure and search and rescue, I beg your pardon, and in terms of just maintaining security in the various districts that it is allocated to. So basically today is International Civil Aviation Day, a day that is globally celebrated worldwide. It's actually celebrated on the 7th of December, which is meant to raise awareness about civil aviation, the importance of civil aviation as an engine of global connectivity, as you've aptly said. And today I'm joined by a variety of guests and stakeholders who have been very key and instrumental in the celebration of this day. I'm joined by Khatile Nkala, the Executive Corporate Services from TITA, which is the Transport Administration Authority, and as well as Captain Mbali Nkabinde, South African Air Force PRO, and the Lesedi Local Municipality Executive Mayor, Councillor Mluleki Nkosi. I'm going to start with you, Khatile. Thank you so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to Morning Live. First of all, just take us through who TITA is and what TITA does, and in relation to International Civil Aviation Day.
Transport Education Training Authority is one of the 21 SETAs that we find, but we look after skills development in transport. So transport is vast. So today we will focus on aviation. Yeah. Now in aviation there are a lot of skills there. So you've got your pilots, you've got those that look after the mechanics of the engines of the aircraft, and you've got cabin crew. So the whole vast skills development, we look after that. So we support stakeholders, which are employers or any service provider who may be part of skills development, developing skills of learners or employees who are already working in companies in aviation. Okay.
So where does TITA come in then in terms of promoting civil aviation as a go-to career for some people, would-be pilots, and just about anybody who's interested in taking up this discipline?
Many facets. We support schools, so we run career exhibition where we help the teachers who support learners and tell them about skills. So we come there and help them to know which skills are there in aviation. Okay. But we also then we partner with companies. A lot of the skills in aviation are licensed. Yeah. So we fund the training of those employees to become current, to always remain current, okay, so that they are able to maintain the engine of the aircraft or to be a pilot and fly. But we also then work with service providers who may want to, in fact, that's what we do. We promote people who are unemployed to be trained to become pilots. Now, for example, we've got remote pilot aviation systems, which is your drone. The pilots that need to be able to manage the drone, we provide funding. So we've got a lot of unemployed youth that we have trained, about 500 so far that we have trained, invested about 20 million. Okay. Today we have those learners who are unemployed, but now at least they have the license to be able to manage the drone that we see in the skies. Right.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, let's bring you in, Captain Mbali Nkabinde. We've just heard Khatile saying, there's different facets and there's different, variations of the civil aviation industry, because so many people think of civil aviation as pilot. Yet there's different other disciplines that are attached and associated with civil aviation. From your perspective, let's talk about some of the opportunities that are available in this industry and in this discipline for some people to take up.
Good morning. Thank you very much. My name is Mbali Nkabinde, and I'm the Public Relations Officer in the South African Air Force. So as speaking about aviation, today as the South African Air Force, we are part of the Joint Aviation Awareness Program. That's why we're here. And with us on the ground today, we've got part of the aviation career that as the South African Air Force we give, being the artisans on the ground. They are the aircraft mechanics that are from 68 Air School that we brought to us pilots today. And so as you say that it's not only the pilots, we also have our ground crew here, which are the aviation firefighters. So also in the South African Air Force, we've got a broad variety of aviation within the careers.
Okay. Now, in terms of awareness, as we've just mentioned, what are you doing to raise that awareness? Do you go out to communities, or you choose to simply post on social media and on your websites? What are some of the programs that you are engaging in terms of raising awareness?
Okay, as we hear today, we are actually bringing aviation to the communities. We bring aviation closer to the communities that don't actually have access to it. So what we do as the South African Air Force, we become part of air shows like this. We become part of the YDP programs that focus on schools, focus on youth that have no idea as to what aviation is all about. So we go to schools, we get invited to programs such as air shows, we get invited to your local communities on whatever based functions or shows that they have regarding the youth of that particular community. So we go to schools and we teach the youth about the South African Air Force and what it offers regarding aviation.
All right, there's a bit of noise because as you may be understanding that it is today an air show, so we'll have a bit of noise. There's an aircraft hovering above us, but we'll try to raise our voices as much as possible just so we can hear each other. Councillor Nkosi, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome. As you've heard, from the South African Air Force, that they bring awareness, they bring civil aviation to the communities. And speaking of which, what are some of the training programs that you have on the ground, and in terms of raising awareness and just bring everybody up to speed with regards to what can be done to take up civil aviation? What has the municipality done?
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much to the viewers. Firstly, let me pass my sincere gratitude on behalf of the community of Lesedi. We appreciate the effort that is brought by the South African Civil Aviation Authority by bringing this magnificent event in our shores. It is a great privilege. Our communities are very delighted. We have put in adverts everywhere in the social media. We have made them aware that this event is going to benefit them profusely. And we are delighted that the two colleagues here have narrated that there are going to be opportunities in aviation. We as a municipality are in a very serious economic drive through the special economic zone. We want to revamp this airport to be a fully fledged cargo and passenger airport that is going to deal with exporting goods and services and importing goods and services also. So this airport is going to be our economic mainstream. So it is important that communities come here and witness opportunities that are going to come with aviation.
As you've just said that this will be an economic mainstream, so what will be done then in terms of engaging every member of this community under the Lesedi municipality that they get a slice of the pie?
We have gone to the communities. I have implemented the economic drive. We went to the town hall, we spoke with all the stakeholders, we told them what this project is going to entail, and every economic facets in our environment is going to benefit from this big economic drive that we are bringing to Lesedi.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we know that aviation has been branded as sort of elitist for some people, especially in the disadvantaged communities who may not necessarily have the information with regards to how can they partake in this discipline. And as Tita Nkhatile, is there perhaps an area of cooperation between Tita and the various stakeholders like the South African Air Force or maybe the Department of Transport in terms of, encapsulating, in terms of getting everybody on board?
Absolutely. If we look at today, we sponsored the learners that will be coming through. we funded their transport to come through. So, and it's one of our imperatives to bring aviation to the people. But otherwise, all the employers that are in the aviation space, we fund, so we disperse funding so that they're able to train all their employees, because none of the equipment in the aerospace can be handled by a person who's not trained. So it's important that we train, and the funding that we disperse to them helps them to get licenses and remain what we call current, so that they are able to handle all the equipment, whether it's a cabin crew member who makes you comfortable when you're in the aircraft while you're flying, or it's that mechanic who is looking after the engine, or even that young person who is handling a drone. They have to have a license to remain current to be able to handle that equipment. That's where we come in.
All right. Now, Captain Mbali, she just mentioned some of the projects that they have embarked on in terms of promoting civil aviation. In terms of funding, let's talk about the civil aviation space here in South Africa. Where are we in terms of global connectivity, as I've mentioned earlier on, and in terms of connecting or forming some sort of a nexus with the other aviation industries and other airlines across the world?
Okay, as the South African Air Force actually being part of this event, meaning being part of the Joint Awareness Aviation Program, that is the opportunity that we use as the Air Force to actually bring aviation closer to the people. A lot of the youth in our communities, they have no clue as to what happens within the South African Air Force. So we make it easier for them in actually explaining what is required from them, because a lot of our youth might have perceptions that you do not need your matric, you do not need good results to form part of the South African Defence Force. So that's where we come in. We come in and emphasize the point of how maths and science, how important it is. So us being here today, we actually give at least guidance as to what steps they can take to be part of us, as to what the requirements are. And also, when we go to the schools or we go to the communities, we show them as to how to follow the application process on being part of the South African Air Force. And once they are within the South African Air Force, they get educated to become in the aviation environment.
All right, Captain Mbali, thank you so much for joining us, and many thanks to Councillor Nkosi and as well as Nkhatile Ngala, Executive Corporate for TITA. Thank you so much for joining us. And later on, we'll have the Minister of Transport, Fikile Mbalula, delivering the keynote address marking International Civil Aviation Day, and we'll see an array of acrobatic displays from some of the aircraft right here coming from the Heidelberg Aerodrome in Johannesburg.